The following review has been approved by Lord Carnage and the best of Classic Game Room. Games on cards, what will they think of next? This is the excellent balloon fight being played on the Nintendo e-reader. Originally released in 1984, this is a delightful Nintendo arcade game balloon fight being played here in the most convoluted way imaginable. It's actually a Game Boy Advance e-reader card being played through the Game Boy player on the GameCube. That's like plugging your Sega CD into the Sega 32X through the Neo Geo back into the Genesis being played out Atari 2600 on a VCR. Here's a look at the e-reader cards, which are colorful and fun to collect, and they contain this game spread across 5 cards. Balloon Fight can also be found on the NES and I believe the Wii U, and 3DS. I don't think a Western Game Boy Advance cartridge was ever released for this game, but if you enjoy Joust, you're gonna love Balloon Fight. It's very similar, but different enough to obviously make it a completely different game. For starters, it's far more forgiving than Joust. Gameplay-wise, it's pretty similar. You fly around the screen and land on top of your opponents. But instead of crushing them with your giant fluffy bird ass, you're killing them with your giant fat balloonist ass. So, Balloon Fight could easily be called balloonist ass, perhaps. That doesn't really roll off the tongue nearly as well as bird ass, though. Come on. Bird ass is where it's at, and you know it. After popping your opponent's balloons, you have to, instead of collecting the eggs like you do in Joust, collect their, what I assume are balloonist carcasses before they respawn new balloons, or get eaten by the giant fish lurking in the water. Pretty violent when you think about it. I love the music, it perfectly fits the game and sounds great here. When you start each one of your lives, you have 2 balloons. So it's like you have a safety balloon, you can take one hit, something that Joust, of course, or any game from Williams in the 80s would have never given you. What, Defender or Robotron with a safety net? No. But that doesn't mean Balloon Fight is easy. Actually, it gets really difficult after about the second group of levels. Because just like in Joust, you don't have a whole lot of room to move and you've got to land on your opponents without bouncing into other opponents. Pretty tricky. And if you hang around each level too long, you get electrocuted by the thunderclouds instead of having a pterodactyl come out and attack you and rip your head off. So regardless of which game you're playing, finish the levels quickly or you die, except stabbing that pterodactyl in the mouth was awesome. You know, the one time out of a million you could do that. You get 1 or 2 player gameplay exactly like you do in Joust, and there's this neat balloon trip mode where you fly left and try to avoid those stars and collect the balloons. It's great. This game is great. It's not surprising that I enjoy it as much as I do, considering I'm a huge fan of Joust, but I like Nintendo's take on it. It's just got that old school Nintendo style, delightful music, really nice controls. You can hold down one of the buttons to flap. Or flap manually. I highly recommend this one. I wish Nintendo had done more with it, to be honest. This is one of those super cool games you never really hear about anymore, like Ice Climber. Like, they're just great games. So search for this one on the Nintendo eShop or whatever, get the NES game, or check out the Nintendo e-reader and the e-cards, which are actually not prohibitively expensive. And I've got a Classic Game Room shout out and thank you to send to Robert from Surrey, British Columbia, Canada! Thank you, Robert, for sending the cards to the show. Now, you all know what to do. Ask for it by name. Who's down for some balloonist ass this weekend? The Best of Classic Game Room is on DVD, Blu-ray, and Laser Hypervision album set. Birdass.